Today I'm going to teach you how to add value to your still life that we've been working on. And you'll notice that my sphere that is next to my cup has the shadow on the left-hand side. So that means my highlight is now going to be on the right-hand side to match the sphere that I have next to it. So I'm actually going to start with white paint and actually paint it just white right in the first section that we've divided on our cup, and I'm just going to smooth it back and forth. You'll notice too that I'm not using water right now. The only time you really want to use water with tempera paint is when you're cleaning off your brush, because tempera comes in a bottle. It's thick and watery already, so you don't want to use any water on your brush. So I'm just smoothing this out. And notice I'm not painting on the inside of the cup yet. On that oval at the top, I'm going to leave that empty, except for the opposite end of the oval is going to have the white. So I'm going to do the opposite. So the highlight will now be on the left. That's kind of how physics works with light. Now I'm going to clean off my brush, and I can see that there's a little bit of white left on there, so I'm going to squeeze it down into the cup. Always just squeeze it down right into the water cup again. I don't want to use any water at all. And when I want to start mixing the next color, I'm going to start with white again. You always want to start with the lightest color. So I'm going to find an empty spot on my plate and just slowly add tiny drops of green, just a little bit at a time, until I make a really nice pale green that barely looks like I added green to it. When I find the color that I like, I'm going to smooth it out, being really careful with my tiny brush, making sure my brush strokes just go smooth back and forth. You want to make sure that you mix a lot of the paint that you want to use, because if you run out, you have to remix it and match the color perfectly, and sometimes that can be really difficult to do. Okay, now that I'm done with that really pale value, I'm going to use that same color right next to the white that I did on the inside of the cup earlier. So I'm just basically repeating the same steps, except this time I'm going backwards. And I ran out of that green, so I have to remix it and try to make it as perfect as the green that I just used. And then I'm going to smooth back and forth in that little space. Okay, now you're just going to repeat the steps, except each time you add a new value, you're going to gradually make it darker. Make sure that you always start with the white first. I know I'm speeding this up a little bit, but you're going to repeat those steps, smoothing it back and forth. And if you watch, each line, each section that I'm painting is gradually getting darker. Gradually means to slowly change. That's why they call it a gradient. This is kind of like we're painting a value gradient right on our still life. Now for my last section, because I don't need any more white, I'm going to be painting with just green. No black added to it, no white added to it. In some cases you might need a little bit of black for your last section, but in this case I ran out of space, so I don't need to add anything. And now I'm done.